What's one of the best things about stock photography? Possibly that you can earn money with a click of a button, and then you can keep on earning even if you do nothing. And the more you click this button, the more you can earn, even whilst you sleep. You might be sold on selling photos, but might be missing crucial information as to whether it's worth the effort. Which is where I come in. I can give you some of that information. I'll show you earnings since I started on Adobe Stock as a contributor a few years ago, and then dig into the details, all the bits that you need. I'm going to cover total earnings for my portfolio, average earnings per download, how that's changed over time, and which images have done the best, and thoughts on why this is the case. But before we dive into that, we need to touch upon some background information to put my portfolio and my earnings into perspective, as it's highly probable that you are sitting on a larger portfolio, and therefore you're probably going to earn more than me. My portfolio is just 125 assets strong, comprising 93 illustrations, 29 images, and 3 videos. The bulk of these are based upon computer-aided engineering software packages that show mechanical stress in a component known as finite element analysis. So most of my assets on Adobe Stock are niche content. If you search for finite element analysis, you get 6-page results, many of which are just my images. It's clear that some people have copied me. Look at this one. I have this image in my portfolio. I actually have one of these. Hold on one second. It's actually a part that goes on a race car. Not this one, this is just a 3D printed version, but I've got the aluminium one upstairs. This car here, in fact, and this copycat image has a striking resemblance. Search for landscapes on Adobe and you get 42 million hits. A little bit too competitive for my liking. So the last nugget of information that you'll need before we start looking at numbers and statistics is that I uploaded the bulk of this portfolio in around February 2019. And I've done very little since. So it's a very low maintenance for existing assets. So which images sold the best? Now I could show you this page which shows the number of total downloads each image got, but that's difficult to interpret at a high level. There's a better way. This graph shows the percentage of total downloads for the lifetime of my account on the y-axis, which you could view as earnings for now, and we'll come on to those. The x-axis resembles each asset in my portfolio. Now stick with me here. What this graph is going to show is that these 20 images accounted for about 80% of the downloads, and therefore earnings if you like. So this is the Pareto Principle going on. I would expect other people's portfolios to follow a similar trend. So this x-axis has the assets with the highest downloads at number 1, up to 125, which is the asset which has the fewest downloads. So asset 1, this one here, accounted for 20% of all earnings. I can show you this slightly different graph, which is a plot of cumulative downloads, where this y-axis represents percentage of my total earnings. So this 100% horizontal line represents my total lifetime earnings on Adobe Stock. This x-axis again represents my 125 assets in order of most downloaded at number 1 and the least downloaded at number 125. Read the graph like this. Draw a vertical line up from asset 5, then read across to find that 53% of my earnings came from just those top 5 images. That's just 4% of my portfolio. I can find the same statistic by saying that the top 10 images, that's just 8% of my portfolio, accounted for 67% of my earnings, or the top 20 images accounted for 80% of my earnings. Flip that around and you could say that 84% of my portfolio accounted for just 20% of my earnings. That's pants. What's worse is that I can say that 49 assets, so 39% of my portfolio, have never been downloaded, not even once. And that includes some of these engineering illustrations. Let's get back to basics and talk about how much did all of these downloads earn. From 651 downloads, $617.80 total were earned, which gives a crude average of 95 cents per download. It might seem low at less than $1 a download, but I can tell you that that is better than Shutterstock, where both of these are in the top 3 stock earning platforms. Now you can cut these statistics in different ways too. For example, you can say that I've gotten $4.94 per image, or that there seems to be some stability over time when you look at earnings over the years, which showed some growth this year. Now let's inject some more detail into this analysis. And look at my month-by-month statistics, where this chart shows monthly earnings since the beginning, which fluctuates a bit, but putting a crude line of best fit through it shows a positive trend. Not something I can say I've seen with other passive income streams based on royalties. It seems lately that royalty earning platforms are perhaps feeling the pinch, and are maybe being a bit tight-fisted on the revenue, which arguably should be going to the creators. This next graph shows you month-by-month average earnings per download, which is a bit spiky at the beginning due to there only being a few odd downloads, but shows you a reasonably consistent and stable average over time. I personally can't recall any pricing changes on Adobe Stock, which would explain some average earnings per download changes with Shutterstock, for example. Remember to keep in mind that these earnings are from not really trying at all. You really can do miles better than me. Now, if you earn money from assets on Adobe, you're going to want to know how payments work. And the great news is, it's really simple. You may have spotted that my account is in pounds, and that's because I'm from the UK. But you can't have that anymore, as any accounts created after the 18th of February 2020 will all be in US dollars. And it doesn't really make a difference. All royalties are calculated based on US dollars, and in my case are then converted into Great British pounds. You can, however, still pay out in euros, dollars, pounds, or a few others when you pay out. And you can do that when you hit $25 as a minimum. Let me show you how that's done. I'm way over the $25 minimum, which is £18.75 in pounds, or at least that's the limit set for pounds. To pay out, click on this arrow next to available earnings, then pay out. Select your US tax resident declaration, then your payment choice, enter your email and confirm. I get my payments through PayPal, but you can also use Skrill and Payoneer. There are some country restrictions that apply. I tend to find that payments arrive in a few days, just like the one I showed you. But is there anything else? Well, yes. Adobe has given special awards to Adobe Stock contributors in the past, like app plans for their software, and that was by achieving a certain number of downloads in 1 year, which even I managed to achieve with my small portfolio and earnings. If there's anything that I've missed in this video about Adobe Stock, then ask me about it down in the comments section. Else, watch this video here for other earnings that I've generated online and passively, and how you can do it as well.